Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to read a story, David and Goliath. I'm sure we're all familiar with David, that story. King David, second king of England, when he he beat Goliath through faith. It's just an example of faith. The Spirit works with us differently. Um, I'm not a prophet, but I am a student of the prophets and Great Millstone. So and maybe one day the Spirit will work with me and bring out more. But this is where I'm at. So I would like to share that. Okay. So Call Allah Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, Wahab Kwadash, all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Ba'Shem Yahushai, our Lord and Savior. The bounds and respect to the elders, apostles, and teachers of Great Millstone, and prophets, which taught me and is still teaching me this truth through the spirit power of the Holy Spirit. And so I'm going to share my screen with you. Okay, stories can be found in Samuel chapter 17. And like I said, I'm just going to read the story. We're going to go over it. And that's going to be it, okay? So with that, let me test something to see what's going to come up. Okay, just that first precept. The first precept, 1 Samuel 17:1. Now the Philistines gathered together their armies to battle, and were gathered together at Shachta, which belongeth to Judah, and pitched between Shachta and Azukah and Ephisdami. Okay, let's go back. And Samuel, the men of Israel, Slaki, and Saul, who was the first king of Israel, and the men of Israel were gathered together and pitched by the valley of Elah, and set the battle in array against the Philistines. And the Philistines stood on a mountain on the one side, and Israel stood on a mountain on the other side, and there was a valley between them. And there went out a champion out of the camp of Philistines named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span, and he had a helmet of brass upon his head. And he was armed with a coat of mail, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of brass. It's a big boy. And he had greaves of brass upon his legs, and a target of brass between his shoulders. And the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron. And one bearing a shield went before him, and stood and cried unto the armies of Israel, and said unto them, Why are you come out to set your battle in array? Am I not a Philistine, and ye servants to Saul? Choose a man for you, and let him come down to me. If he be able to fight with me and to kill me, then will we be your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then shall ye be our servants and serve us. And the Philistines said, I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight together. When Saul and all Israel heard these words of the Philistine, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. Now David was the son of that Ephrathite of Bethlehem, Judah, whose name was Jesse. And he had 8 sons, and the man went among men for an old man in the days of Saul. And the three eldest sons of Jesse went and followed Saul to the battle. And the names of his three sons that went to the battle were Eliab, and the firstborn, and next to him Abinadab, and the third Shammah. And David was the youngest. And the three eldest followed Saul. And David went out and returned from Saul to feed his father's sheep at Bethlehem. And the Philistines drew near morning and evening and presented themselves 40 days. And Jesse said unto David his son, Take now for thy brethren an ephah of this parched corn, and these 10 loaves, and run to the camp to thy brethren, and carry these 10 cheeses unto the captain of their thousands, and look how thy brethren fare, and take their pledge. Now Saul and they and all the men of Israel were in the valley of Elah, fighting with the Philistines. And David rose up early in the morning and left the sheep with a keeper, and took and went as Jesse had commanded him. And he came to the trench as the host was going forth to the fight, and shouted for the battle. But Israel and the Philistines have put the battle in array, army against army. And David left his carriage in the hand of the keeper of the carriage, and ran into the army, and came and saluted his brethren. And as he talked with them, behold, there came up the champion, the Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, out of the armies of the Philistines, and spake according to the same words. And David heard them, and all the men of Israel. And when they saw the man, fled from him, and was sore afraid. And the men of Israel said, Have ye seen this man that is come up? Surely to defy Israel is he come up. And it shall be that the man who killeth him, the king will enrich him with great riches, and will give him his daughter, and make his father's house free in Israel. And David spake to the man, and stood by him, saying, What shall be done to the man that killeth this Philistine, and taketh away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine, that he should defy the armies of the living power? And Eliab, his eldest brother, heard when he spake unto the men. And Eliab's anger was kindled against David, and he said, Why comest thou down hither? And with whom hast thou left these few sheep in the wilderness? I know thy pride and thy naughtiness of thine heart, for thou art come down that thou mightest see the battle. And David said, What have I now done? Is there not a cause? And he turned from him toward another, and spake after the same manner. And the people answered him again after the former manner. And when the words were heard which David spake, David rehearsed them before Saul, and he sent for him. And David said to Saul, Let no man's heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight with this Philistine. And David said unto Saul, Thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock. And I went out after him, and smote him, and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he arose against me, I caught him by his beard, and smote him, and slew him. Thy servant slew both the lion and the bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine should be as one of them, seeing he has defied the armies of the living power. David said, Moreover, the Lord Yahweh Habashai hath delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear. He will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said unto David, Go, and the Lord Yahweh Habashai be with thee. And Saul armed David with his armor, and put him an helmet of brass upon his head. Also he armed him with a coat of mail, And David girded his sword upon his armor, and he essayed to go, for he had not proved it. And David said unto Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them. And David put them off of him. And he took his staff in his hand, and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook, and put them in a shepherd's bag, which he had even in a scrip. And his sling was in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistine. And the Philistine came on and drew near unto David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. And when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth, and ruddy, and of a fair countenance. And the Philistine said to David, Come to me, I will give thy flesh unto the fowls of the air, and to the beasts of the field. Then said David to the Philistine, Thou comest to me with a sword, and with a spear, and with a shield. But I come to thee in the name of the Lord Yahweh Hashem of hosts, Yahushai of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom thou hast defied. This day will the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahushai deliver thee into mine hand, and I will smite thee, and take thy head from thee, and I will give the carcasses of the host of the Philistines this day unto the fowls of the air, and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. Let me get some water here. And all this assembly shall know that the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahushai saveth not with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands. And it came to pass, when the Philistines arose and came and drew nigh to meet David, that David hastened and ran toward the army to meet the Philistine. And David put his hand in his bag, and took thence a stone, and slang it, and smote the Philistine in his forehead. And the stone sank into his forehead, and he fell upon his face in the earth. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling, and with a stone, and smote the Philistine, and slew him, but there was no sword in the hand of David. Therefore David ran and stood upon the Philistine, and took his sword, and drew it out of the sheath thereof, and slew him, and cut off his head therewith. And when the Philistines saw this champion was dead, they fled. And the men of Israel and of Judah arose, and shouted, and pursued the Philistines until they came to the valley, and to the gates of Ekron. And the wounded of the Philistines fell down by the way to Shaaraim, even unto Gath, and unto Ekron. And the children of Israel returned from chasing after the Philistines, and they spoiled their tents. And David took the head of the Philistine and brought it to Jerusalem, but he put his armor in his tent. And when Saul saw David go forth against the Philistine, he said unto Abner, the captain of the host, Abner, whose son is this youth? And Abner said, As thy soul liveth, O king, I cannot tell. And the king said, Inquire thou whose son this stripling is. And as David returned from the slaughter of the Philistines, Abner took him and brought him before Saul, the head of the Philistine, in his hand. And Saul said to him, Whose son art thou, thou young man? And David answered, I am the son of thy servant Jesse the Bethlehemite. Let me see. What is it? Okay. I want more. All right, we're going to read chapter 18 also. And it came to pass, when he had made an end of speaking unto Saul, that the soul of Jonathan was knit with the son of David. What does knit mean? I think it sounds like it means that they were friends, but if I can see knit, I just want to see what it means. Homeboys, knit. Oh, it's not. I want to see. Okay, sound like knit. Okay, that's the, I want to say the conventional meaning. But she was knitting a sweater. Unite or cause to unite. So what I take from that meaning was Jonathan and David were united, which is true, which is what they were. They were united right off the bat. And Saul took him that day and will let him go no more home to his father's house. Make this bigger. Then Jonathan and David made a covenant because he loved him as his own soul. As Jonathan stripped himself of the robe that was upon him, gave it to David and his garments, even his sword, and to his bow, and to his girdle. And David went out whithersoever Saul sent him, and behaved himself wisely. And Saul set him over the men of war, and he was accepted in the sight of all the people, and also in the sight of Saul's servants. And it came to pass, as they came, when David was returned from the slaughter of the Philistine, that the women came out of all cities of Israel, singing and dancing to meet King Saul, with tabrets, with joy, with instruments of music. And the women answered one another as they played, and said, Saul hath slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s. And Saul was very wroth, and the slaying displeased him. And he said, they have ascribed unto David 10,000, and to me they have ascribed but thousands. What can he have more but the kingdom? But what can he have had more but the kingdom? And so I did this from that day and forward. And it came to pass on the morrow that the evil spirit from the Most High came into Saul, and he prophesied in the midst of the house. And David played with his hand as other times, and there was a javelin in Saul's hand. And Saul cast the javelin, for he said, I will smite David even to the wall with it. And David avoided out of his presence twice. All right, I'm going to stop there because I'm getting too far away from Goliath and David. But so we're going to stop there. So I hope that you enjoyed the story, and it's in 1 Samuel chapter 17. Go back, read it. Let me get out of here. It's it's still this. It's like the story between the first king of Israel and the second king of Israel, and two different kings, two different means of rulership. But anyway, I'm not gonna twist you up any further. Today, I'm just gonna stop there. So I hope that you gain some understanding from the story. It mostly was a story of faith. David didn't have a whole arsenal of weaponry. He just had a sling and the faith of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, and destroyed Saul, which is um, pretty much we're about to face that as Israelites in this day and age. So with that, I hope that you gain from the story. Now, for a close, I want you to prepare your spirit for the upcoming prophecies, the crash of the dollar, the economy, the famine, Jacob's trouble. And remember, don't take the charagma. You take the charagma as a Revelation 16, 17, then you're going to be punished as a Revelation 14, 10. Okay? So with that, I'm going to close out. Barakathah Yahweh Shai, Kwame Yasharah, and the Bible Bow. Until the next time, Lord willing,